Hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. Jaws here, and tonight we are going to go into the deep sea to meet the splendid lanternshark, Etmopterus splendidus. This is going to be a really cool episode with a lot of bioluminescent studies and research, as well as some splendid lanternshark specific studies. So, in tandem with deep sea Chondrichthyan biodiversity studies. So this is going to be kind of a cool, more science-heavy episode, although we've got a lot of cool footage, or pieces of footage, of lantern sharks in general, which is kind of astonishing. I remember in undergrad, you would be lucky to get any kind of deep-sea shark footage. Hey, Quackers! Welcome back! Good to see you. Hope you've been good. Hope everything... that was a weird comment. Hope things have been good. I'm definitely in a very Monday vibe, just like... It's kind of like a good, sleepy, zen kind of day over here. So, but hope you're having a good day, and hope you had a really good weekend. This is the first weekend I had in a while that kind of felt restful, where just feel like I got a lot done, and just because the past couple weekends have been extremely busy. So it's nice to kind of like take a break. I know it's been forever. School's insane. I miss joining live streams. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Hope school's going well, and thank you for being here tonight. We have all the streams recorded on YouTube as well, so if you ever miss a stream, we still have them, and we love reading the comments. So any comments you have, even after the fact, even after the stream is live, love to see them. So yeah. But before we dive into the Splendid Lanternshark, we have this really cool piece of art from last week by Howard Kerr, who won the banner contest. So we had the Shark Week banner contest last week. Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yes, I've been watching them while exercise. That's super cool. So Howard made this really cool drawing of a nervous shark, Carcharodontis caudus, and it's one of the few sharks that I've heard of that actually actively goes after sea snakes. So it's a really cool piece of art. Featuring a mangrove habitat and the nervous shark hunting sea snakes in the mangrove. So there's actually two species of sea snakes specifically that the nervous shark hunts, and I guess you would call them maybe more like mangrove snakes, so or water snakes. So this one of the English names is the dog-faced water snake. So I am too a nervous shark at heart. I'm gonna heart that or star that. I love that comment. So. But yeah, Nervous Shark was a really cool episode, so if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. Yeah, just wanted to showcase this piece of art because I wasn't able to get it live on time for last week. I was focused more so on the shark banner, but yeah, it was a really cool piece by Howard, so I'll bring it back up if he hops back on tonight. So I think we'll start out with some general lantern shark footage. I don't think we have the Splendid Lantern Shark specifically, but we do have pieces of footage from other species of lantern shark, such as the velvet belly lantern shark, Etmopterus spinax. So these are all in the same genus, Etmopterus. So it's kind of like a cool way to visualize how these sharks move, and then also the world that they live in. So it's complete darkness. Although lantern sharks do tend to make diel migrations, so they will actually move up the water column at night and will be at the surface in the open ocean at night. Following their favorite prey items, and then they go back down into the depths in the daytime. A lot of deep sea animals actually do that, especially if they live in the twilight zone. They will actually do this incredible migration. It's one of the largest migrations on Earth, going from the depths of the twilight zone to the surface at night. So one thing that's really cool to see about this piece of footage, you can see how the lantern shark actually has a pretty large caudal fin, so and you can see how large of a role it plays in its swimming. So it's not really a shark that holds its body steady like ground sharks or hammerheads. It wiggles its whole body, powered mostly by that caudal fin. The other thing you can kind of see in this clip, which is really fun, is you can see the velvet pattern. Let's see if we could zoom in here so I can show this. So this dark line right here is the velvet belly, or the velvet pattern on this lantern shark's belly. And I believe the theory is that this is a great backdrop for the blue lights that the shark emits. So it kind of helps make those lights look brighter. I believe is the theory about or pertaining to why lantern sharks such as this one have a very dark belly, but then a kind of like a brown side and dorsal area. So, which is kind of like, the opposite of you see of shallow water sharks. Shallow water sharks tend to have light bellies and darker backs, but lantern sharks, it's kind of inverse. So this is a different lantern shark where you can kind of see it head on. Pretty sure we've seen this clip before, but it's a really great piece of footage. These sharks are very cute, have a pretty big nose, and I think these are two different species because they look kind of different as well. So this one, can't tell at the species level what it is, but it's definitely Etmopterus. You can kind of tell the has the large second dorsal fin spine, the classic kind of like almost like cigar body shape of pretty large fins, and it's not as like elongated as a cookie cutter shark, so they're a little bit more compact. Have larger fins, and they definitely have like the very large fin spines. Here's a really cool view of an all black lantern shark, or all dark brown, dark gray lantern shark. These really pretty blue margins on its fins. And it's kind of cool to see both in the first clip and this clip that these lantern sharks are staying close to the seabed. So it might be an indicator that they like to be. I think they could be found anywhere in a water column from the seabed to the mid-water column. But these particular individuals might be trying to find invertebrates, or because I see some brittle stars in this clip as well in the back. Some vertebrates or fish that might be buried, that might be easy prey items for them. I wonder if we can get a glimpse at lantern shark teeth. We'll have to keep an eye out, because sometimes lantern shark teeth are pretty large and pretty formidable compared to the body size. So, oh hey, a lot of comments. Hold on. Hey Howard, welcome back. Good to see you. Oh yes, fantastic nervous shark art. So let's. I definitely want to take a moment to showcase. Thank you again for sending this piece, Howard. I know this was sent last week, and I wasn't able to really showcase it till now. But this is just such a really, really cool piece on a nervous shark, and also this is one of the pieces of art that I really like as far as it. How many nervous shark illustrations are there? Like there's probably not many. There's a lot of rare sharks that we've seen, or have been brought to life by your art. So it's really cool to have a collection, and we'll have to go through it soon at some point. I would love to kind of dive into all the sharks that we covered that have art pieces related to them. So it's really cool to see a piece of art relating to a shark that is not like super, at least in the northern hemisphere, it doesn't seem like this is a very well-known species. I don't know if Australia nervous sharks are maybe a little bit more recognizable, but the point being is it's just really cool to see a piece of shark art about a species that a lot of people, at least in North America, they haven't heard of it. So this is super cool, and thank you so much for submitting that, and also for including this unique prey item of a sea snake. So nervous sharks are one of the few sharks that actually actively goes after sea snakes or mangrove snakes. So it just looks super cool, especially with the mangrove backdrop. So thank you. This is really, really cool, Howard, and I really appreciate you submitting this. This is just a really awesome piece of art. So also, hello Mingus, welcome back. Whittle Drifter Sharky, I love that. Love that comment. Oh, Howard, and I just saw your comment about technical difficulties. No worries. If you have, whenever you have the piece, just send it over, and I'll be sure to feature it either on the channel or on next week's stream. So, we have a lot more lantern shark footage. So, this one is in, I want to say this is Norway? Diving with a velvet belly lantern shark. So, there we go. So there's that's actually a really good shot of a lantern shark in this clip. And it looks like this one might be in not too deep of water. So, and it is at night. And there's I think that's a sea pen. But that's extremely cool because I mentioned earlier that lantern sharks, they tend to be in deep water, and definitely in the daytime they'll be in deep water, but at night they'll come up to the surface. I didn't think they would actually come into the continental shelf. And that's just actually really cool to see. There's a freaky looking little lobster. Or I'm pretty sure it's a lobster. I'm pretty sure it's a lobster. I don't think it's called a different name. I know there's like a lobster-like crustacean that has like a slightly different name. But anyway, really cool to see lantern sharks in this clip. Oh, nice little flounder. That might be a squat lobster. Look at the reflective eyes on these lantern sharks, by the way. So it's cool to see two individuals foraging. They have really large eyes proportional to their bodies, and you can see that classic velvet belly. So let's go back to that, actually. So really large eyes, helping to maximize any kind of visibility in the darkness, especially when they come up to the surface at night, when there's a little bit of light, maybe even moonlight. This does help maximize, what do you call it? Like maximize light absorption in poorly lit environments. You have the very large dorsal fin spine on the second dorsal fin, and then again you have that very characteristic velvet belly that theoretically helps kind of be a contrast to the bright blue lights that the shark emits in the ocean depths. So lantern sharks are always extremely cool in the sense that they're, and look how like purple and like iridescent the edges of the fins are. They look really beautiful, like blue or purple. Great size, great scale comparison with the diver too. But lantern sharks are really cool because they're one of the very few sharks that are bioluminescent, that they can actually emit light. It's such an amazing thing. It's one of the few animals in the world that are bioluminescent. It's so cool. And look at him just curious about the camera and just going up to a diver. So it's kind of wild to see lantern shark footage so close inshore. That's actually pretty amazing to see. So I'm kind of curious if this location was maybe near like a drop off, like kind of near an area that is actually adjacent to deep water habitat. So it's not like a gradual slope. It's kind of more like an abrupt drop off. Again, I think these are sea pens. These are very strange to see. It's not an invertebrate I'm very familiar with. Beautiful. It's amazing seeing lantern sharks move kind of like dogfish. And they are cousins of dogfish. I mean, technically they're in the order of dogfish. But we'll play that one more time because that's just such a really cool piece of footage. And let's see if we can get any more information on it. This is no description added to the video. It's just really cool. But again, it's really amazing. This is probably the same. If this is Norway, this is the same area where you can find pike dogfish, like arguably the most famous dogfish in the world, Squalus acanthius. And it's really cool to see like such a deep water cousin occupy the same zone. So. I don't know if you can hear the music, but I'm listening to Dredge, which is a semi-recent video game. I guess it's pretty new. About it's like Lovecraftian deep sea treasure hunting is I think the premise of the game. But I just thought it'd be kind of cool to do a deep sea species with this music. So. It's pretty amazing to see a multiple lantern sharks. So it's hard to kind of estimate how many because we see two in the frame at a time, but there's probably more nearby. It makes sense that the species probably schools together, like dogfish, and that's actually how dogfish get their name. Is that that's such a great shot. Dogfish are reminiscent of like a pack of dogs, on the hunt together. Specifically, if you think of dogs like fox hunting or I guess rabbit hunting. I don't know. Fox hunting is like I think the best example, which is not something I condone, by the way. But the image of like fox hunting, like a whole like hundreds of dogs together. That's pretty much where the name dogfish came from. Where similarly, hundreds of sharks, specifically Squalus acanthius, come together to go after schools of fish, and they actually do a lot of damage to fishing nets, or at least used to do a lot of damage to fishing nets because they all collide into the nets with a lot of vigor. and in just huge numbers. So I like this little shot. Shouldn't touch marine life, but I like this shot of this bewildered lobster. So lobster are fast, by the way. It's been a while since I've been in the water with them, but like New England lobster, it's really surprising how fast they are, where they'll back into a corner and then they'll immediately dart away with a big flick of their tail. So. Again, these lantern sharks are also kind of keeping close to the bottom, although it's fun to see that they are kind of curious about the divers. So, really cool clip. Okay, I'm going to catch up on the comments. So, Dredge mentioned. Oh my gosh, if somehow you ever end up making a gaming channel, please play Dredge on stream. Love that. Oh, thank you, Howard. This is so cool. Oh hey Bruce, welcome back. Good to see you as well. You all better get the spotlight off Mr. Krabs or someone spots and eats him. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What's funny is, on the one hand, doing Let's Plays sounds like a lot of fun. I think I would have a lot of fun doing like the Pokemon Let's Plays, because that's a game that I'm actually pretty decent at. But other ones, especially ones where I'm not familiar with, I would be terrified, because it would just be a lot of like bumbling and bumping into things, and I would be, just, I don't know how fun that would be. But for something I'm familiar with, maybe one day a Pokemon Let's Play with a team of Sharpedos. We'll see how that works. But Elasberix and Palau, this is a different kind of lantern shark, but it's still really cool to see one. And on a Nautilus dive. So Nautilus, I'm sure everybody in the community is familiar with Nautilus, but these are extremely cool underwater videos. It's actually amazing, that they have hours and hours of deep sea footage completely free and available to stream on YouTube. So they go everywhere. The one closest to me is I think they did go to Norfolk Canyon. There's a lot of underwater canyons off my coast, or off the coast where I live. Excuse me. So there's like Norfolk Canyon, Washington Canyon. So they've been there. I think they've been in the Puerto Rico Trench. They've been everywhere in the Pacific. This is a really great piece of footage. This is definitely a different species of lantern shark, but you can still see some of the key similarities. The very large second dorsal fin spine, the large eyes. They proportionally fairly large fins. Like, these sharks have cylindrical bodies, but they have pretty nice, squarish, rounded fins. That's different from cookie cutter sharks. Cookie cutter sharks have like very small fins and very long bodies. So, great shot of a lantern shark just cruising so slowly through the water column near the bottom. Very unbothered. Which it's probably wild for the shark to be swimming in the high beams of this sub. May not know, what it's experiencing right now. Now he's actually a lot more active. That's actually interesting. He might be trying to get away at that point. But the Nautilus streams are really incredible. The science commentary is really good. I will say an hour of science commentary probably, although I do basically 2 hours of science commentary, but an hour of science commentaries, if it's a little dry, sometimes it's nice to just like have the footage, maybe turn it down, and then turn on some of your favorite music. It's just really cool. This is also extremely cool. A deep water stingray, and I'm not familiar with, deep water batoids. I'm actually really not that familiar with them, so this is actually a really cool sight to see a distant cousin of sharks, and a pretty large distant cousin of sharks, just chilling on the seabed. So if I had to guess, this looks like a ray that's probably in the same group as the southern stingray, or the is it the thornback ray, like the blunt-nosed stingray? I think it's Daciatidae is the family, because it has that classic stingray shape of, kind of like the spade shape. with a pretty long stinging tail. It's really cool to see this individual on the seabed. You see kind of interesting circular markings on the side, and I'm not sure if that's like skin irritation or maybe the skin is like parasitized on the sides. I see some scars on his left side too. But it's actually really cool to see a completely different animal. Yeah, you could just tell from the look. I mean, it is a cousin of sharks and rays. Well, it is a ray, but it's a cousin of sharks. Elasmobranchs, which are the sharks and rays, they always like have this really interesting character about them. And I think to put into words, they have kind of like a sleekness or a softness to them that bony fish don't have, because bony fish have like scales, and I don't know, it just makes such an interesting difference where when you see bony fish are really cool. No offensive or anything. It's just like they have that kind of like fishy, slimy kind of feel, like texturally they're just so different. And sharks and rays are just like very, I don't know, sleek, smooth, just beautiful, cruising through the water. There's something about them that's just like such a different, kind of more ethereal kind of feeling, so. Ethereal, I guess, is a good word that I'm trying to look for. Again, no offense to the bony fish, because the bony fish are a noble and incredible group. I love these comments. I aspire to be as unbothered as that little dude. Yeah. Unbothered, depressurized, and moisturized his own shark lane. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel the same about Shark Week. He's got peanut on him. Oh my goodness. As a New Englander, does that mean not all lobsters move that fast? I'm really not sure. Yeah, because I'm not as familiar with some of the other. I actually the New England lobster is the only one I'm familiar with underwater, as far as like like being with it. And I know we have the West Indies lobster. I'm not really sure how fast they move. Like the famous like Florida Caribbean lobster. So. Minjas, I guess I held a shark ray. Are they really not that slimy feeling, or did I interpret that wrong? So, for the most part, they're very smooth. It depends on the species. So, a cool exception is the basking shark, which actually does exert a kind of mucus. And don't quote me on this, but I think the mucus, it's like this gray slime that basking sharks exert, and I think that might be a deterrent for lampreys. So lampreys are like the parasitic, they're really nightmare fish. They're these parasitic fish that latch on to other kinds of fish and kind of suck their blood and drain their fluids. So they're sometimes known as vampire fish, but they're really like the lampreys, which are relatives of hagfish. What's kind of funny is like we have lampreys on this coast, and they're actually pretty common theoretically, but I've never seen one in the wild. So, but maybe I'm just not where they hang out. And it's kind of funny because lampreys do go up into freshwater areas apparently too, but I've never seen one. So, and I don't want to because they don't sound fun. But anyway, basking sharks do have a slimy outer covering, and I think it is something to do with kind of a lamprey deterrent. I think is one of the hypotheses for why it has a slimy covering. Other sharks, like and rays, they have like a very, it's like when you feel them from tip of the snout to the tail, they have a very smooth feeling. It's been a while since I've held a shark, and not as long ago since I've like pet a ray, but they have like kind of like a smooth feeling from the tip of the snout to the tail. If you try to go the other way, it's a very abrasive feeling, and this is because of the dermal denticles. So the teeth-like scales that help protect their bodies. I think I told this story before, but I had a buddy who dove with whale sharks, and he got a little too close, and the whale shark slapped its tail against his leg, and actually left a huge gash and a huge scar. And it's because it's not only the force of the whale shark's tail, but it's also the abrasiveness of the tail. It just hit him in just the wrong way, and it's like if you're feeling a shark in the right direction, it's very smooth, but if it's the wrong direction, it is like sandpaper. And he got a huge gash in his leg. So, and it's this really cool scar now. But yeah. So I'm trying to think of other sharks that might be slimy. The only one I know is the basking shark, but I think everybody else is pretty smooth. I think. I wouldn't be surprised if there's additional slimy sharks, especially sharks that may live in coral reef areas, where it could be an adaptation. Because a lot of coral reef fish are deliberately slimy. Parrotfish, blue parrotfish in particular, they actually exert a mucus that helps kind of shield them and buffer them from the coral. Because coral is like razor sharp. I shouldn't say razor sharp, but coral is very sharp. There's actually a lot of sharp things in the ocean. Because coral is very sharp, barnacles are very sharp, oysters are very sharp. Like these things are like really cool and build these amazing reefs. But I think that's part of why maybe a lot of fish are slimy, especially reef-dwelling fish, because like for the bony fishes, since they're navigating that environment, they kind of have to have that protective mucus, which is also why it's not good practice, or it's good practice not to touch a fish or not to pet a fish. And I've been guilty of petting some fish, which is not right. But that sounds so wrong. But it's kind of like if you touch a butterfly, you're rubbing scales off the butterfly's wings, and it prevents it from flying. Similarly, if you pet a fish, you're kind of taking away some of the mucus that protects it, and you're leaving it more vulnerable to abrasion from rocky environments. So I didn't notice this, by the way. So 695 meters observation depth in this video. So this is squarely in the twilight zone. So it's really cool to see this ray at that point. So gotta get out of that garlic seaweed. Got hit by a shark. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a really cool story. Oh, Howard, the Humber River, which flows into Lake Ontario, is full of lampreys. Oh my gosh, imagine trying to swim in that. That's like, I mean, not only that would be freezing, I would imagine, but just terrifying. I'm not really sure the relationship between lampreys and people, how many incidents there are, because, yeah, but I don't want to risk it. They sound horrifying. They sound completely terrifying. So, fun fact, by the way, which I don't know if I shared this channel. I'm kind of wary. I mean, I've dove in freshwater, but I'm honestly really kind of wary of freshwater. I'm not a big fan of it as much as saltwater, and not only because saltwater has sharks and everything, but like, there's a lot of creepy things in freshwater, and because I'm a freshwater-based organism, there's a lot of creepy parasites and things like amoebas and bacteria and stuff that have a better shot of getting to my system than saltwater. Like saltwater, you've got bigger fish and, a lot more exciting and dangerous things, but, as far as like the actual chemistry of saltwater and like the microorganisms that live in it, saltwater is very cleansing for humans, and that's something that I really love about it, but freshwater is not. So between that and lampreys living in freshwater, and I think there was hellgrammites. Oh my gosh, hellgrammites are a nightmare bug, and I don't know where else they live, but we definitely have them in Virginia. They're like these terribly creepy, horrifying, like underwater. I'm pretty sure I talked about them before. They only live in freshwater, but they have these huge pincers, and they're just like creepy things. So there's a lot of reasons why I don't love freshwater, and I have done scuba diving in freshwater lakes, and it is cool, but I don't know, the actual environment, I need that salt. I need that sodium chloride. I need that NaC. So, but anyway, here we go. Though admittedly, I love that our first reaction to everything as humans is, I should pet it. So, yeah, love these comments, Quackers. Yep. So saltwater versus freshwater, taking a bath versus rolling in the mud. That's kind of how I feel a little bit. So, one thing that is really cool, I talked about this, I think this was last week's stream or maybe the one before. A lot of saltwater animals are very curious about people because they don't know, they don't see a lot of humans, and you see a lot of animals that are flighty. Like, for me, crabs are always flighty. Most fish are very flighty, but then there's like other fish that are very curious about what you're doing and kind of come to check you out a little bit. So, and I always talk about the puffers, but there's something about the puffers that are they're very fun and whimsical little fish that have no fear and also like cameras. So, and they might like their reflections in the cameras, but I've always found puffers to be quite vain. No, they're happy little fish. So, but let's dive into some fun facts about the Splendid Lanternshark, and then we'll kind of take a look at some general studies of lanternshark. This family lanternshark. So here we go. This one was discovered in 1988. So, let's see. Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way. So, my fiance and I watched Jaws I think we started it 2 weekends ago, just for the heck of it, and we finished it last weekend, and I have not seen it in a while, and it was really kind of amazing to see how like old it feels. And one thing that I never realized is that Campagno, who wrote Sharks of the World and is like a huge name in shark research, he was actually a scientific consultant on that film, which blew my mind, because Jaws came out in 1975. And then Campagno's Sharks of the World came out in 1984, and Sharks of the World may have been in part a kind of a reaction to Jaws a little bit, and it's also something that stood on its own merit as cataloging all the sharks that in the world. But it really blew my mind to see his name in the end credits. So, and also blew my mind that it's starting to kind of age, which is kind of interesting. Where some of like the gut feelings, like the horror, is, I don't know, like it just kind of doesn't hit the same way. And I found that really interesting because this is like the film that probably impacted sharks the most negatively, that because it inspired trophy hunting and fear. But it is interesting to see that it's kind of starting to show its age. And I don't know. It's still like a very well-made movie, but it was an interesting watch through, and we just kind of put it on out of curiosity, and I think out of reverence for the fact that, like, not reverence, but like, I think we watched it fully understanding that, yeah, this is the movie that inspired a lot of trophy hunting, and it's kind of interesting to like see how it plays out, And it was just interesting to see that it's kind of like getting older, and also to see one of the most famous shark scientists as a consultant. So it was kind of like Campagno was the Jack Horner, like Campagno's the Jaws as Jack Horner's the Jurassic Park, which is very, very interesting. So, yeah. Oh, wow, Howard, I just saw this comment. I've seen fishermen get lampreys attached to their backs or legs. Oh, man. Ooh. And Quackers, yes, I love this comment. That also makes me happy. Glad to see the negative feelings are aging. Agreed. And between that and then also Shark Week is in this perpetual like cycle of like, well, they do good things, but they also do these like really sensationalized things. Like that might get old after a while, and I'm kind of curious to see if like maybe in the future Shark Week gets a little bit better and better and better. Because it used to be like very high quality shark science, and then it really started to go into this weird, like just dumb stuff, like just weird stunts. And then I just wonder if there's going to be like a reaction to that, and maybe more, you know, like just positive things and like more science-based things, because it is interesting. The alien shark specials that they do, and some of the shark scientists that they feature, like Vicky Vasquez and David Ebert. He's been on Shark Week. They're legit scientists, and I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But another year has passed, and we'll just kind of see. I'm kind of rambling, but we'll kind of see what happens with the fate of shark culture in the future. Actually, there's a really good documentary on Disney Plus called Sharks of the North, and it was about great white sharks in Nova Scotia. So shout out to Canada. And one of my favorite things about that documentary was, incredible white shark footage, of course, but they actually took a moment to acknowledge that shark teeth were traded in Canada and used in Canada for ceremonial purposes. And it was the first time I ever saw on film an acknowledgement of North American shark culture. And I'm sure there's probably been a few other documentaries that may have covered that, but like it's not really well talked about that North America had, and like tribes of North America had, a network involving shark teeth, like a trade network, but also used shark teeth for ritualistic purposes. So they would actually have megalodon teeth or great white shark teeth with holes drilled in the center to be worn as necklaces, and sometimes people were buried with shark teeth. And it was the first time I've ever seen that in a documentary, because I've read about it in like an obscure paper, but like I've never ever seen it put onto film. So actually I'm going to type this in the chat. It was really good. Sharks of the North. Great whites in Nova Scotia. Really great documentary. Definitely recommend it. And really well made too. It was pleasant. It was not weird. It was not sensationalistic. It was very reverential, and I really, really appreciated it. So I definitely recommend Sharks of the North. That was a delight to watch. So, and I think it came out really recently. So I think it was, maybe this year, last year. So, but anyway, Etmopterus splendidus. This is the Splendid Lanternshark. So here we go. I think the name is pretty self-evident. I don't think they even go into... They don't even talk about the species name on FishBase, because it's like, it's splendid, that's it. So, but Etmopterus is Greek from ethmos, which means sieve, or ethmoid's bone, and then petron, which means wings. So sieve wing, I guess, is the name, and it might refer to like semi-translucent wing fins, potentially. So is the genus name. This species lives from 120 to 370 meters, so kind of in this interesting zone that borders the deep epipelagic and not shallow, but like deep epipelagic to twilight zone, or a deep epipelagic to mesopelagic zone. Apparently lives in Japan and Taiwan. Max length is about 30 centimeters, so very little guy. Black flank marking on side of tail and base with short truncated posterior lobe. Additional oval dark marking near base of caudal fin. I was curious if they would talk about the bioluminescent pattern, but they won't, so let's see. Biology, probably demersal, so kind of sticks near the bottom like the other lantern sharks, on the outer continental shelves and upper slopes. Feeds on squids. Ovoviviparous, so it's live birth, but technically egg. Like this is one of the strangest reproductive cycles for sharks. Its eggs are fertilized inside the mother's body, and then the sharks are born. So it's not like viviparity, which is like a placental connection like mammals. It's just different. So it's this one's always tricky to describe. So let's see. Not much else new on FishBase, so we'll take a look at shark references to see if there's more information. This is the original illustration And you can kind of tell that this is a preserved specimen through a couple little clues here. Like that this drawing was taken from a deceased specimen. So one, unfortunately, the eye. This black space with like the white center is typically a sign of I'm not sure like really the biology or the chemistry in terms of why this happens, but like dead deep water sharks have this kind of pupil shape, whereas sharks in life, you can clearly see that they don't have that. So I want to see if I can get a good example. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, so this little guy has, you know, pretty large eye, pretty solid black pupil. There we go. It's hard to tell because this camera is like definitely glaring a little bit, but the iris is probably a little bit reflective. Even if the eyes are dark, you can still see probably a little bit of reflection in them. So this illustration, you know, based on the pupil, you can kind of tell this is a deceased individual. You can also tell from like the frayed markings on the upper caudal fin and the pectoral fin. These look a little damaged. So for preserved fish specimens, especially sharks, you'll see like a little bit of like this this frayed look where even though sharks have like solid fins, like the internal structure of the fins are these like little fin rays made of cartilage, and so if the tissue kind of breaks, it can kind of get in between the fin rays. So that's a little bit what's going on. And then coupled with in preservation, a fish will dehydrate, and that just kind of adds that overall. So and then finally, you can also safely assume that since this is a deep water shark, there probably wasn't a way to keep it alive, unfortunately, when it was hauled up to the surface. So, especially 1988. So, which is not that long ago, but I feel like, you know, the specialized equipment you need to keep deep water sharks alive at the surface it's probably better now, and even that's kind of risky. So, but yeah, so just random fun facts about. You know, you can glean a lot from even like a two-dimensional drawing. It can actually tell you a lot of information, including, more importantly, you can see the dark belly, and actually kind of like this cool flank stripe, and actually even like the head has a little bit of darkness too. So this actually could be some of that pigmentation that we've seen from the velvet belly lantern shark, as this could be an indicator of where the bioluminescent pores are, because blue light on a darker backdrop might be more effective than on a lighter backdrop. So let's see. No new facts here. The teeth are dissimilar in the upper and lower jaws. The lower teeth are unicuspid shapes, so just one point, if you will. And then the upper teeth have 5 cusps, so it sounds like the upper teeth are a little bit more like shearing teeth, and the lower teeth are more like gripping teeth. So, but other than that, not much else. So I think we'll jump to Iso-luminance to see the Splendid Lanternshark's conservation status, which is least concern. So it seems to be doing okay. Love these comments. The teeniest of guys, just a nugget. Howard, love is just having a designated Shark Week is great, and I agree. For all of Shark Week's ills, and yes, for all of Shark Week's ills, it's better to talk about them than not talk about them. And like this, I love the second comment. YouTube shark content spikes during Shark Week. So yes. Oh, Minjas, thank you. Least concern. Woo. Yes. So that's a really great point, Howard. As far as you know. And it is interesting to think about where sharks get a lot of attention, whales get a lot of attention, big cats get a lot of attention, and even I don't think even they have as much pull as the sharks and the whales, to be honest. Crocodiles, snakes, wolves, and maybe birds, I guess. I don't know. Like there's when you think about all of life, there's really not that many. Oh, sea turtles, of course, and I guess bears. I don't know. It's like there's not a lot of focus. There's such a unequal distribution of focus on animals, and I do find it really fascinating that typically the focus is on animals that either can kill humans or I guess inspire us or are cute, I guess. you know. So the group of animals that is always out of luck is unfortunately invertebrates, where there's no invertebrate week, there's no jellyfish week. Jellyfish are really cool. There's no worm week. That one is a very hard sell. But the point being is, when you look at life objectively, I mean, there's a huge amount of invertebrates that outnumber chordates. So all the popular animals are really a small fraction of the entire puzzle of life. But it is really interesting to see that they don't really captivate general attention as much. Oh, dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are. Oh no, Sponge Week. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Sponge Week would be fun because sponges are cool. They're very colorful. They're very colorful. They're very relaxing, and yet when you get down to the molecular level and actually get down to how adaptable they can be, they're really fascinating actually. So, but point being, as much as Shark Week is annoying, it is actually a real gift that it is a dedicated. It's a cultural phenomenon that brings SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah, it's a cultural phenomenon that brings focus to a group of animals that genuinely do need a lot of help. At least a third of all shark species are threatened. So, yeah. Actually, and I'm sure you guys know this. SpongeBob was, and I'm going to speak for the first 3 seasons because I feel like it got really weird after that. But SpongeBob was actually written. I'm sure you guys know this already, but it was written by a former marine biologist or somebody who dabbled in marine biology, one of the writers, and that's part of why all the gags work. Is that there's a little bit of insight there. So, yep. I can only imagine the amount of SpongeBob memes that go around during Sponge Week. Yeah. I love the angry face with dolphins. I assume that the average person loves big cats more than sharks just because of mainstream cuteness factors, but at least we could say our favorite animal group has its own week. Yes. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it is really interesting where, on the one hand, if you look at all of life, you can argue it's unfair that sharks get a disproportionate amount of attention. However, on the other hand, sharks are a keystone species. They're indicator species. They're the apex predators, and worms are not that. And we love sponges, but sponges are not that. And in that sense, they actually can be indicators of total ecosystem health because they are huge predators, and they can only exist in a healthy ecosystem. They can only function in their role if they have a very healthy ecosystem, that they can, be a part of. If they have an adequate food supply, if they can live life, uninterrupted, unfished, and unpolluted. And so, in that sense, even though they do get disproportionate amount of attention, they, in a weird way, maybe deserve that attention, even objectively, as far as what they provide, just even a utilitarian role. They indicate generally total ecosystem health, and you can kind of make that argument definitely for all the apex predators. So oh gosh, apex predator. Well, we are a apex predator. Hold on. Apex predator worms equals Dune. So I've been trying to get my fiance to watch Dune, and I think I'm the only Dune person here. So far, I mean it's the Game of Thrones of space, so it's very good, but Lisa Magalib. But also part of my art teacher, grandma who married. I love this Mingus. It's also part of why my art teacher, grandma who married was someone who loved marine life, loved the show. That's really sweet. My late grandmother loved SpongeBob as well, and she was confused on who he was, so she would call him Cheesehead. So and it always would crack us up that it's like, what is Cheesehead doing today? It's like his name is SpongeBob. So, but she loved the Dancy Jellyfish episode. That was her favorite. So, oh my gosh. Love these side conversations. Super fun. So Splendid Lanternshark. So we're very happy that it's least concerned. Let's check out why. What makes this shark least concerned? And I have a couple guesses, but the Splendid Lanternshark is a small deepwater shark endemic to southern Japan and Taiwan in the Northwest Pacific. It is demersal on the continental slope at depths of 100 to 300 meters. This species is taken by demersal trawl fisheries and retained for fish meal and possibly liver oil. Let me see if I can squish this so everybody can see it. There we go, it's a little better. It is rare in Japan and abundant in Taiwan. The small size of the species may reduce its catchability. There we go. In Japan, bottom trawl fishing effort has decreased markedly over the last 3 decades and is continuing to decline. Wait a minute, hold on. Oh. I love these comments. These comments are fantastic. Sorry. In Japan, bottom trawl fishing effort has decreased markedly over the last 3 decades and is continuing to decline. This is so interesting. Over the past 30 years, the deepwater trawl fishery in eastern Taiwan has moved deeper for most of the year. From 100 to 300 meters to 370 meters deep, the Splendid Lanternshark would still be captured at 300 meters, but most of the fishing pressure is deeper beyond the depth range of the species, which would provide some refuge from fishing pressure in that area. So this is a lot of information. I know this is the least concerned species, but a lot is happening right here. And I saw a comment about this. Love this. Small size species may reduce its catchability. So I think Ninja's made a fun comment about that. So and it's actually really cool. It's another example of in the Anthropocene, in our current era, we may be selecting for like human-induced natural selection, or I guess human selection, if you will, because of human pressure on the world, as far as like, just our impact on natural resources, or our impact on the natural world, where it's like natural resource harvesting, habitat, destruction, pollution, all these things, these have an effect on the world, and it is a selective force. And related to that, there's this really fascinating theory that we're kind of overall decreasing the size of sharks. And what I mean by that is, if you took all of sharks as just this one group, which includes the great white sharks, the whale sharks, the lantern sharks, the cat sharks, larger sharks are more vulnerable to getting hit by our pressure than smaller sharks. Smaller sharks tend to be more able to resist it because they can reproduce more quickly, grow more quickly. And what's kind of interesting is that proportionally, a lot of the least concerned species we've been seeing are smaller sharks. This lantern shark is absolutely an example of that, where the small size may indicate that it's a little bit more quick to reproduce, may indicate that it's more quick to grow. But it's kind of incredible to think about where you have a group of small sharks that are relatively resilient to some of the fishing pressure, or are able to kind of handle it, and then you have a group of large sharks that take bigger hits, which is really sad. And overall, if you look at the total picture of shark, it's getting like the size is getting smaller. you can absolutely apply that to what's happened to continental mammals, where we have elephants still, we have like African elephant, Asian elephant, you know, white-tailed deer, cougars and stuff, but prior to that, and in an era of human activity, we had the woolly mammoth, we had the mastodon, we had the Irish elk. I think is like this humongous deer in the British Isles that was hunted to extinction. The aurochs is like this massive ox thing. So it's kind of happening where as humans have made their way into the world, they're taking or they're pushing out large animals, and it is really, really fascinating to think about that from it is a kind of natural selection, it is a kind of evolution. So and it is really sad, but it is also interesting to see, on the flip side, least concerned sharks tend to be smaller, and it's a really great example of this is exactly what survival of the fittest means, or what fitness means. It doesn't mean you're the biggest and the baddest. It means you are the most fit for your environment. And in this current age, small, more quick to reproduce, that is the most fit, which is really interesting. So it is sad to see, but if for any biology students, because I feel like we have a couple here, and for future viewers, if there's ever natural selection and evolution, it is a very confusing subject, or a complex subject. But if there's ever confusion, what's happening in sharks now is a really good example to kind of illustrate what fitness means and what natural selection looks like. And again, it's fittest is not the biggest and the baddest. It's the most fit, the most suited to handle the current pressure. So dinosaurs are also an incredible example of that too, because they were the biggest and the baddest on the planet, and then that in turn wiped them out. Megalodon is a great example too. It was the biggest and the baddest, and it's not sustainable given the conditions in which it lived. So it's so interesting. So but anyway, so yeah, that was a little bit of a tangent, but oh, actually, yes, Mingus, at the very least for the aurochs, we domesticated them to cows. That's true. So while they're still technically extinct, at least they're still kind of here. That's actually a really great point. And that actually is also kind of a selection where, and dogs are a great example too, where we've selected dogs to be this incredible variety of cute, not wild animals. So it's we've selected for the dogs that are the most obedient, the least unpredictable, and they have come to be as the breeds that we have today. Because you cannot I know some people do have or have tried to raise wolves, and they have wolves, but wolves and dogs are extremely different temperament, and part of that is selection, human selection, selectively breeding the most docile of dogs to become the most compatible with human life, and those are the dogs that we have today. Versus you cannot treat a wolf like a dog, because a wolf is just so behaviorally different. So yep. Yes, love this comment. We have some dog breeds that can reach the size of wolves, but none of them are wolves. Yes. So and Quackers, I always feel so bad with pugs. Yeah, it is really sad, because pugs are adorable, but they have a lot of health problems, unfortunately, because of that selection. So make sure I didn't miss any of the oh, this is really interesting. Sorry, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. A bit off topic question, so I'm really sorry, but are sharks sort of like tuna, and since they don't stop growing with age? That is a fantastic question. I don't know, Minjas. That is an excellent question, because theoretically, maybe. The only reason I hesitate is there is documented shark cancer, So there was a great white with cancerous tumors that was photographed. I think this was like 5-ish years ago. And so it was the first time we've confirmed, like, yes, sharks do have cancer. And I'm kind of curious if cancer is kind of like in a weird way a limiting factor as far as like if sharks could theoretically grow like endlessly, you know. The one I keep thinking of is like the Greenland shark, because that could live for so long. But I don't know. I'm gonna assume it's actually really, that's a fantastic question. It's actually really hard to gauge because for a couple factors, because I love that question. It's hard to gauge because of the fact that there is so much fishing pressure, and large sharks are kind of unusual. And I mean, like, large sharks, like a very large great white shark is not a common sight. So I don't know. I'm gonna be on the safe side and assume probably not. I mean, well, I don't know. That's a great. Sorry, I'm really torn on this because I think of like some of the enormous deep water sharks. Like, we've seen footage of like the 6-gill sharks and 7-gill sharks, well, not 7 gills, but 6 gills that are just like attaining these colossal sizes. Sleeper sharks that attain colossal sizes, and then there are some great white sharks that are just enormous. And then you also have the basket sharks and the whale sharks, which are just, also enormous. But I don't know. I think I'm just gonna land on cancer as a limiting factor, and we know that sharks can have cancer. So I guess I'll say possibly, but I'm not sure. That's a really phenomenal question, actually. So let's see. I remember you bringing it up. Still insane to me to know we finally have evidence that proves that sharks don't cancer. Yes, that was such a hoax. I asked in reference to the bycatch fishing pressure in general thing, are they getting smaller in the same way tuna got smaller? Yeah, actually, that's a great question too, and I have a really bad feeling that they might be. There's a couple reasons, but I'm seeing, has anyone seen the articles lately about the largest great white recorded in New York or Florida? And I don't know if these are weird AI scam articles, but it's like the headline is the largest great white recorded, and they're about 14 to 16 feet. And I'm like, pretty sure great whites historically have gotten larger than that. And I'm just going to check Sharks of the World. Like, the legend is like a 20-foot shark, which I think is a little bit insane, but I need to double check what the maximum size for a great white is, according to Sharks of the World. Which, I trust this resource, but... Here we go. 600 centimeters. So that's like, what is that, 18 feet? More than that? 6 meters times 3.3. 20 feet. Okay, so 20 feet is the maximum size of a great white, and there's been historical... And this is where it gets tricky, because there's been historical accounts of great whites getting larger, but, we don't know if those are tall tales or really stupid. We don't know if that's, like, a tall tale or if that is real. And what's kind of wild about that, and this is kind of hitting close to home, because just randomly out of the blue, I was studying bull shark records yesterday in relation to kind of like the Potomac River, where Washington D.C. is, and like the Chesapeake Bay area. And it's kind of incredible that there are records of bull sharks from very long ago, including the first recorded shark attack in North America, which is 1640. And somebody was like killed by a bull shark. And then in 1864 or 18, I forget if it was 1864 or 1896. It's somewhere in the late 1800s. someone caught a shark near Washington, D.C., and it was in the Alexandria local newspaper. And, it's like there's these records here of bull sharks in the bay and actually very far upriver, and that's not what's commonly known. Like right now, the running narrative about bull sharks in the Chesapeake is like, yeah, they're in the lower Potomac, like near the mouth of the Potomac River, and there's never been a shark attack in the bay, and that's actually not true. There's been 5, I want to say, but all of them are, older. They're before the International Shark Attack file, and kind of piecing all these weird pieces of information together, I kind of get a feeling of like, and also based on what I know of the Chesapeake Bay, where the bay as a whole ecosystem is heavily modified between all the fishing that we've done on it, and also all the development and all the conservation actions, including modified landscapes, so like modified shorelines to help prevent erosion, and a lot of these are great things, but there's been a lot of human activity in the bay, and I kind of have this weird feeling that we might have, if there wasn't people, bull sharks might have been more prevalent in the bay than now, and that's kind of like a gut feeling. But it is weird to read like some of these old accounts of like, oh, like bull sharks have attacked people in history in the bay, and we have a shark that's in Washington, or in the Washington area, which is a bull shark. There's no other shark that could do that. And now it's an extremely rare event where there's in modern history there has not been a bull shark attack in the bay, and the latest bull shark sighting was like maybe 2013, and that's also in like the lower Potomac. So I'm, in a weird sense, I get this feeling that like bull sharks got pushed out a little bit, and there's like less of them maybe, which is really sad. Similarly with great whites, I just kind of wonder if something like that is going on too, where I don't know if it's an AI article or if I don't know if it's clickbait, trying to play into exactly the way I'm reacting, which is like, hey, that's not the largest great white, or if there's this weird shifting baseline, which is a very common problem in fisheries and conservation, which is like, our new normal is not at all what it was 50 years ago. There was more sharks 50 years ago, larger sharks 50 years ago. Same thing 100 years ago. So yeah, it's I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but let me go back on the chat because I just want to make sure I answer that question. Yes, so we're talking about sharks getting smaller. I really think that could be a thing. I mean, with all the fishing pressure and how much it's affected the shark populations, I think it could be a thing. Really, I actually think that's a very intelligent assumption, honestly. So, yeah. Let's see. And I agree. I just saw this comment. Yes, I hope it's for the area too. I'm not really sure. Quacker, side note with AI, I feel like it had been so helpful if we had implemented a system tracks a piece of media origin and modifications and such. That would have been really cool. I definitely agree. Oh yeah. I remember a year or two ago hearing talk about that, and now with AI content on the rise, it would just be so helpful, 100%. Oh, so Minjas, love this comment. Damn, I guess with records going back that far, it became hard to know if it really is the species bull shark or just a shark they called a bull shark. So great point, but what's really fun is you could do some shark detective work, and it's all about salinity, where when you look at the locations of the shark attack or locations of the shark landing, it's like brackish water, and there's only one species in the bay, like in this part of the world, that could enter that kind of water. It's a bull shark. So it's 100% a bull shark. The shark that they caught in the DC area, they misidentified it as a dusky shark. But dusky sharks don't like low salinities. They actually want to be very close to the ocean. So it's not a dusky shark because no dusky shark would go up that far river. They physiologically couldn't handle it. So, which is really cool. So it's like, I love like little, like, bull sharks you could do a lot of fun detective work with, as far as like, because they're so unique in how they're able to go out freshwater. If you hear shark stories of sharks in freshwater, even if it's like, you know, a century-year old, you can safely assume, and if it's a warm-tempered area, you could safely assume it's a bull shark. There's rumors of sharks in the Great Lakes, and those are debunked because the Great Lakes is too cold. But anyway, let's see. Oh, I really like this. I'm probably coping here, but part of me hopes that the shift in shark location means they were intelligent enough to know that going further offshore is better for them. So, love this. So, I don't know. I know sharks wouldn't consciously do that, but actually, the only, like, or as far as I know, I don't think sharks would consciously do that, but sharks are really interesting in the sense that I think they have more of a sensory intelligence, and in that sense, when you think of all the human impacts, where it's like, okay, you have a harbor with all these fisheries, you know, with all these boats make a lot of noise. These boats have a lot of, you know, reverberations in the water, and many sharks probably don't like that. And I think about hammerheads specifically. Hammerheads are so attuned to electromagnetic fields. They don't like scuba diving bubbles. It really bothers them. There's just things that they don't like. And I don't know. What your comment about, I hope sharks know to go further offshore, I don't think is too far-fetched, really, because sharks being as intelligent in their senses as they are, I mean, I don't think it's really coping to wonder, have they shifted in reaction to the influences that humanity has brought? You know, in terms of like all that noise, all that traffic, like boat traffic, you know, all that activity. Do some shark species feel that and say, or not say, but like feel that and shift their pattern to be a little bit further away from that? I think it's actually a really cool open-ended question that probably not for all shark species. Some probably will just continue to do what they do, but some may actually like respond to that. So I'm not sure. Related to that, Quackers wrote about orcas. One thing. Oh wait. One thing that's so interesting that I always find fascinating is you don't have great white sharks in the Pacific Northwest, and it's because orca whales are there. And you know, I don't know if that's the thing where they actively avoid the area, or if orcas eat all the ones that do go into that area. But either way, I mean, it's kind of cool to see that like there is selective habitat use based on different factors. So I don't know. Sorry, this is a really great tangent, and before I get too far off, wait, hold on. Okay, sorry, I was just catching up the comments. So, okay. I saw the cool comment from Quackers. I think it might have been like that one thing with the Seven Gills where they were after the attack in Tampa, that the area practically overnight. They may not think by our definitions, very, very aware of physical surroundings. Oh, yeah, sorry. To be fair, if I was a great white and I heard orcas around me, I'd probably run. Yep. What's kind of funny, like, orcas, I think I've shared this before, in the diving, in some parts of the diving community, actually, no, not in the diving community, someone told me that if there's sharks in the water, you're okay. I mean, like, if you're a scuba diver and there's sharks in the water, you're okay. If there's orcas in the water, typically the protocol is to leave because they're so unpredictable. So, yeah. And like, I've never... I mean, orcas are safe-ish, I guess. I don't know. I'd be scared enough to grow legs and run. Oh my gosh. I don't know how I'd feel if I saw an orca whale in the water. They're humongous. You know, you think a great white shark is big at potentially 20... Oh, yes, in the military, yep. So, I did share that story. But you think a great white shark is big at 20 feet, at maximum superlative size. An orca whale is like 30 feet. I can't even imagine that underwater. So, but anyway, I'm sorry, I got really far off topic because I wanted to highlight this. In Japan, bottom trawling fish efforts has decreased markedly over the last 3 decades and is continuing to decline. I think this is extremely interesting, and especially in reference to, I believe we talked about Japan's population trend / issue, where there's concern in Japan of less and less and less of the younger generation, being born and being able to replace the older generation, and I'm very curious if this is a part of that. Statistically, Japan is one of the very few countries that is actually losing population year after year. And I don't know if this is related to bottom trawling fish effort declining. For the sharks, that's a win. That's actually really great. But that's actually an interesting population concern. Well, I don't know concern, but I think there is concern about how does the economy work if you don't have younger people kind of filling in some of these roles and things. So I don't know. What's going on in Japan is really fascinating, and I'm just curious if this is related to that. But again, for the sharks, it's a win where there's less pressure, and it's weird to see. Conversely, Taiwan is moving to deeper waters, which is scary because that is a huge fear of. Which is the story of fisheries of getting better, going further out, going to deeper areas, harvesting resources that are slower and slower to reproduce. The further down you go, the less likely you don't have quickly reproducing things in deep water. It takes time, but moving away from the 100 meter, 300 meter zone, it is an interesting take that the IUCN Red List has, where it's saying this splendid lanternshark will still be captured, but most of the fishing pressure is deeper and beyond the depth range of the species, which would provide some refuge from fishing pressure in that area. That's a very interesting take, and I wonder what science backs that up, actually. I've never heard of that before, but if it's true, it's really cool. It's a very unique take that we haven't really seen in other assessments, so... But anyway, the Taiwan ban on trawls within 3 nautical miles of the coast may also provide refuge from fishing. Sorry, I laugh because I almost misread that as the ban on trawls within 3 nanometers of the coast. So it's ridiculous. The Taiwan ban on trawls within 3 nautical miles of the coast may also provide refuge from fishing. There's been little change to landing rates of the species over the past 31 years, which infers a stable population as fishing effort has remained relatively stable. There's no evidence of population decline, and since the splendid lanternshark is not suspected to be close to reaching the population reduction threshold, is assessed as least concern. So that's really good. It seems like this species is actually solidly least concern, so... I love this comment, Quackers, by the way. Super off topic, but the whole beauty standards trends going on in East Asia are actually insane. I'm not sure what's going on. I won't look it up on the stream since it's not Sharky, but I will definitely look that up later because I'm fascinated right now. So, oh my gosh. But I think with that, we've got 40 minutes left, so I think it's a good time to dive into some bioluminescence science. So I'm very excited because I think some of these are familiar papers. Some of these I believe are new. So we'll figure out where the splendid lanternshark fits into this. So okay. Yes, least concern for the win, 100%. So we'll start with this one, and I think these are chronological. So I'll read the abstracts, and then we'll just kind of go to the figures, and we'll kind of hop from one to the other. So if anybody has a shark for next week, by the way, please let me know in the comments. Love to cover a new species. I have no suggestions. Oh, can you paste the link in the chat? Yes, absolutely. I have no suggestions for this week because I'm completely Hold on. I'm completely happy to do really whatever as far as sharks go. Why is this not letting me paste? Is it because I have the... Oh, sorry. I know I've been able to do this before. Edit, copy. Sorry, Quackers. One moment. Paste. Yeah, I don't know. What I'll do is... I think what I'll do is I will post the links to these papers on the... I think I'll post them on the community page. So sorry about that. I don't really know why it's not letting me copy and paste. But you can also look this up from... Oh, it might be because I have it open as a PDF. So... Counter... Illumination drove bioluminescent shark radiation. Clies et al. Okay. Thank you. So, oh yes, I think you're right, Minjus. And I think when I prepared for tonight, I might have like downloaded the PDFs for easier reading, but I think I clicked out of my source tabs. So. But here's the name of the paper, and since it is publicly available, you should be able to find it, and I posted in the chat. So I'll read it out loud now. So this is Iso-luminance counter-illumination drove bioluminescent shark radiation. And that's a great question, Quackers. I don't know if we have done the Caribbean reef shark, so I'll double check that in... We might not have, because that shark kind of like hides in plain sight. I have a funny... I don't know how to describe it. Like, I have a funny thing about Caribbean reef sharks where that shark to me is like the most normal looking shark. In the sense that shark is kind of hard for me to identify because it just looks really sharky. It looks like the classic image of a shark. Like every other shark has like unique little like nuances or features that you can kind of point to. Caribbean reef sharks are really hard for me to identify. We don't really have them here, but when you go further south, like in the Carolinas and Georgia, this is actually a good pick. Did we not do this one? Yep, okay. Let's do it. Carcharinus prezii. Make sure I got that right. That's a great pick, Quackers, and I'm actually really excited to duel with the Caribbean reef shark because that one is really hard for me. Like the genus Carcharinus. Oh, Perezi. Sorry. Great suggestion. Perezi. There we go. Caribbean reef shark. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Quackers. So it's an excellent suggestion. So yeah, so the Caribbean reef shark, just as a quick background, is a very populous species in the tropical Atlantic. It is extremely populous for dive operations. It's probably one of the most popular sharks you see. So it's like specifically in Bimini where a lot of Shark Week is filmed, but also I think it's the Shark Research Institute or the Bimini Biological Field Station. These are really famous locations. Like the classic set of shark species that you see there are the great hammerhead, the nurse shark, the bull shark, the tiger shark, the lemon shark, and the Caribbean reef shark. And Caribbean reef shark is kind of like, I guess maybe the chillest of them all. Maybe actually no, the nurse shark is the chillest of them all, but the Caribbean reef shark is probably the second most chillest. It is a moderately sized requiem shark that kind of has dusky fin tips and just looks very sharky. So and what I mean by that is like bull sharks are very like stocky and just like have this like, you know, presence to them. Sandbar sharks have the huge dorsal fin. Fine-toothed sharks have like this really funny narrow head. Spinner sharks have like the black tips, are actually kind of large, and like have like the black anal fin. And it's like Caribbean reef sharks are just like, I mean, they look normal to me. And it's hard for me to point. If you show me a picture of a Caribbean reef shark, there's just something about it that I'm like, I can't quite 100% confidently see that's a Caribbean reef shark. So I'm excited for that pick for next week. Yeah, Caribbean reef shark equals just a guy doing a thing. So I think it's an excellent suggestion. I'm really excited to learn what makes this species unique. So thank you, Quackers. Next week is going to be the Caribbean reef shark. So until then, before we get into the shallows in the tropics, we'll finish out with some dark, deep water shark science. So here we go. Iso-luminance counter-illumination drove bioluminescent shark radiation. This is by Julian M. Kleis, Dan Eric Nilsson, Nicholas Straub, Sean P. Collin, and Jerome Malafet. Counter-illuminating animals use ventral photogenic organs, photophores, to mimic the residual downwelling light and cloak their silhouette from upward-looking predators. To cope with variable conditions of pelagic light environments, they typically adjust their luminescence intensity. Here, we found evidence that bioluminescent sharks instead emit a constant light output and move up and down in the water column to remain cryptic at iso-luminance depth. We observed across 21 globally distributed shark species a correlation between capture depth and a proportion of a ventral area occupied by photophores. So that's actually really cool. So there's the deeper you are, it changes the number of photophores you have on your belly if you're a lantern shark. So I don't know if it means you have more or less. I'm assuming the deeper you go, the less you have, but we'll see. This information further allows us, using visual modeling, to provide an adaptive explanation for shark photophore pattern diversity. In species facing moderate predation risk from below, counter-illuminating photophores were partially co-opted for bioluminescence signaling, leading to complex patterns. In addition to increase our understanding of pelagic ecosystems, our study emphasizes the importance of bioluminescence as a speciation driver. Alright, so really cool. Let's figure out first where we can find the Splendid Lanternshark. So here we go. So photophore density maps of the Delatiid Squaliolus alei and the Etmopterus splendidus, two species that respectively displayed the simplest and most complex photophore patterns of all sharks, reveal unexpected organizational similarities. So again, the Splendid Lanternshark has the most complex photophore pattern of all sharks, which is really interesting. Did not know that. Indeed, in both species, photogenic tissue occupy over 95% of the ventral surface area, and photophore density increases centripetally from the edges to a median area of the pattern. I'm just going to type in splendidus. Okay. These photophore patterns maximize downward emission of luminescence, allowing matching to the angular distribution of residual downwelling light. The perfect match observed for Etmopterus splendidus is achieved due to a centripetal change in photophore orientation already observed in Etmopterus spinax. Let's see. Wavelengths are in the bluish part of the light spectrum. Okay, so you can kind of see this light green line is represented by the. Okay, this is really cool. So photophore density maps of the Delatiid and the Etmopterid. So the dark green line is the shark with the simplest photophore pattern. The light green line is the shark with the most complex photophore pattern, which is our shark, the Splendid Lanternshark. And it looks like the pattern is right in sync with oceanic waters. And then coastal waters, which is this vertical dotted line, and then coastal waters, which is this solid line, is a little bit of a different pattern. So interesting. So I'm reading this correctly. It's saying that the Splendid Lanternshark is kind of the way its lights are oriented is perfectly. It's perfectly mimicking downwelling light from the open ocean. So, and let's see if there's an actual graph here. So there is. Okay. No, actually, no. This is not it. So the bottom is Etmopterus spinax. So this is a different lantern shark. But I want to see if we can get one of ours. Oh, here we go. Oh, okay, we can. So here we go. So this shark on the right is the Splendid Lanternshark, which has the most complex photophore pattern. So you can actually see very clearly, the mouth, the nostrils, these lighter blue margins on the pectoral fins, and then you can see a variability of density of photophores. So you have some photophores. So the red area is showing this is the highest concentration of photophores, and then the blue area is the lowest concentration. So here you have the highest concentration of photophores, or light-producing organs, right in the mid-belly, right at the bottom of the pectoral fins, right in the area kind of around the claspers for this male individual, and then right near the tail, which is extremely interesting. This is actually really cool. You could see that the photophore pattern here for the Splendid Lanternshark has most of the belly covered, and then look at this. You have a dark area right here, and then the tail has blue. So I'm not sure why this looks the way it does, but my guess could be either this is a way for species to communicate with one another in the sense that this may be an identifying color or pattern for one Splendid Lanternshark to tell that another Splendid Lanternshark is a Splendid Lanternshark. Or another guess I have is maybe this could be a... it makes me think of lizards that have blue tails, where the tail, like, how lizards can lose their tails instantaneously if they feel like there's danger, and the idea is that the predator goes after the tail and the lizard swims away. I wonder if there's something similar with that. However, now that I'm saying that out loud, I don't think that makes sense, because a shark needs its caudal fin. It completely needs its caudal fin and won't be able to survive because it can't generate thrust. So, never mind. I literally was talking that out loud, and I realized that doesn't make any sense. So I think maybe this dark band is perhaps a species identifier, or just... I'm not sure. I wonder if they'll explain why there's a dark band, but this is such a unique feature that there's got to be a purpose to it. So as far as why there's a break from the main body of the lantern shark and then the tail. So and you can actually see that compared to the Squaleolus alii on the left, because the Splendid Lanternshark has the fins, this blank area near the claspers, this blank midsection, whereas none of this is going on with the other shark. So I think there's something going on with that, which is super cool. Quackers, how do they get photos / data like that? So great question. My guess is they do successfully have individuals of these sharks, and I'm not sure if this can be done at depth or if this is done at the surface, because at depth, I believe I have seen footage of these really cool acrylic tanks where they can capture organism, like a submarine can actually capture some organisms in a temporary holding tank at depth, in the deep water. But as I say that out loud, I'm like, well, lantern sharks are probably very easy, pretty evasive, so that probably is not going to be effective. So my next thing is, I think what's going on is they probably have caught these lantern sharks, and they've probably put them in a aquarium of some sort, like a experimental aquarium where they can actually have them in the dark room and have the cameras positioned underneath the tank, and they can take clear. That actually makes much more sense. So, yeah, these are actually probably individuals caught in a caught and placed into an aquarium for research, and they probably are photographed with a camera underneath their tank in low light conditions. I'm not sure how they were able to capture the photophores, but that's my guess on that. So. Let's see. Oh. It's like microscope stuff. Oh, here we go. This is exactly it. Here we go. In vivo luminescence characterization. Sharks are collected by rod and line off West Okinawa in 2011. And by mesopelagic nets off southwest Taiwan, also in 2011. And transferred to seawater tanks placed in temperature-controlled dark rooms at the Okinawa Churayumi Aquarium and the National Museum of Marine Biology Aquarium, respectively. Our protocol, including fish sacrifice, was in accordance with institutional guidelines for experimental fish care. Fish handling approval was given by the Ethics Board of OCA and NMMBA. Pictures of glowing individuals were taken in complete darkness using a digital camera. For visibility purposes, post-adjustment of brightness and contrast was applied to the entire picture using Adobe Photoshop. The angular distribution of luminescence produced by Squaleolus alii and Etmopterus splendidus was measured following methodology of Kleis et al. By measuring the relative light intensity around the shark body with an optical fiber coupled to a luminometer. I feel like I should say this more eloquently. Hold on. Luminometer. There we go. Luminescence spectra was measured from 300 to 700 nanometers with a minispectrometer. And then smooth using a Gaussian fitting for delta max determination. Okay. So we know that these were taken in life. And then that's all we have on this lantern shark. I just want to see if there's any other figures. Really cool illustration. This is a viper dogfish right here. You can tell with the teeth. So, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Minjas, I can't. Now, okay. Miniometer. Oh my gosh. Incredible. This is really cool, by the way. So this is the capture depth of these different sharks. So here we go. I could actually guess who some of these guys are. So here we go. We have 200 meters, which is the cutoff between the sunlit zone or epipelagic zone and the twilight zone or mesopelagic zone. TR, I can safely assume, is Trigonognathus, which is the viper dogfish. This is Squaleolus. EU is Euprotomicroids. DA is Delacius. IS is Acistius. So this is the kitefin shark. This is the cookie cutter shark. I'm not sure what CE is, so I've got some of these right, but some of these meh. CE is Centroskillium. Where? Unless determined otherwise, all dots represent species of the genus Etmopterus. So, okay, so the lantern sharks, including the Splendid Lanternshark, are all the dots that don't have a letter near them. So it's actually quite a lot of them. And it's actually really cool to see that a lot of them have a mix of the green light and blue light. And they're caught between 300 meters, and some of them are even deeper in the midnight zone. So, but there seems to be more of a concentration here in the lower twilight zone. Sharks that live in complete darkness. It's so cool. Okay, so I'll move on to other papers, but we know that the Splendid Lanternshark has the most complex photophore pattern, and I think that's probably where it got its name, Etmopterus splendidus, so that's really cool. We'll move on to a new paper, Photon Hunting in the Twilight Zone, Visual Features of Mesopelagic Bioluminescent Sharks. This is by some of the same authors, Gillian M. Kleiss, Gillian C. Partridge, Nathan S. Hart, Eduardo Garza Gisholt, Xuan Qingho, Jerome Malafet, and Sean P. Collin. The mesopelagic zone is a visual scene continuum in which organisms have developed various strategies to optimize photon capture. Here we used light microscopy, seriology-assisted retinal topographic math beam, spectrophotometry, and microspectrophotometry to investigate the visual ecology of deep-sea bioluminescent sharks. 4 Etmopterid species, so Etmopterus lucifer, the Splendid Lanternshark, Etmopterus splendidus, Etmopterus spinax, and Trigonognathus cabii, the viper dogfish, and 1 dilated species, Squaleolus alei. We highlighted a novel structure, a translucent area present in the upper eye orbit of Etmopteridae, which may be part of a reference system for counter-illumination adjustment or acts as a spectral filter for camouflage breaking, as well as several ocular specializations such as aphakic gaps and semicircular tappeta previously unknown in lazarynx. All species, and by the way, lantern sharks and all deep water sharks that have photophores are some of the coolest sharks in the world. It's just evolving these features that are unlike any other kind of shark. It's incredible to read about these sharks. They're just so cool. All species showed pure rod hexagonal mosaics with a high topographic diversity. Retinal specializations formed by shallow cell density gradients may aid in prey detection and reflect lifestyle differences. Pelagic species display areae centralis, while benthopelagic and benthic species display wide and narrow horizontal streaks respectively. One species, Etmopterus lucifer, displays 2 areae with its horizontal streak that likely allows detection of conspecifics, elongated bioluminescent flank markings. Ganglion cell topography reveals less variation, with all species showing a temporal area for acute frontal binocular vision. This area is dorsally extended in Trigonognathus cabii, allowing the species to adjust the strike of its peculiar jaws in the ventral frontal visual field. Etmopterus lucifer showed an additional nasal area matching a high rod density area. Peak spectral sensitivities of the rod visual pigments fall within a range of 484 to 491 nanometers, allowing these sharks to detect a high proportion of photons present in their habitat. Comparisons with previously published data reveal ocular differences between bioluminescent and non-bioluminescent deep-sea sharks. In particular, bioluminescent sharks possess higher rod densities, which might provide them with improved temporal resolution, particularly useful for bioluminescent communication during social interactions. So, very long, complex way of saying each species is a little bit different, and each species has better vision to maximize their ability to see bioluminescence from conspecifics underwater. It's so cool. And what a great visual here. Oh my gosh, these are beautiful images, including the Splendid Lanternshark. So this is a great comparison of the different deep water sharks, including their eyes. Yeah, this is so cool. So I'm going to zoom in on the Splendid Lanternshark in a little bit, but we have a couple other lantern sharks and the viper dogfish, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit because I know that's a particularly interesting species. But here we go. Or I'll zoom out. So yeah. So here is Etmopterus splendidus. This is the Splendid Lanternshark right here. Huge eyes relative to the rest of the body. It's beautiful to see a lantern shark, or an image of the Splendid Lanternshark in life. Very large second dorsal fin spine. Very distinct velvet, what do you call that? Flank? What do you call that? It's like, I think it's called a flank stripe. But it's pretty cool to see like this almost uniformly velvet belly. a interesting break in the tail right here. It has the same excited look as the thresher shark. Yep. It's actually really cool to see these three species are all of the same genus. So Etmopterus spinax, Splendidus, and Lucifer. But it's really incredible to see how different they all look, comparatively. So, and the Splendid Lanternshark, well, I guess they all have large eyes, but I feel like the Splendid Lanternshark and Etmopterus Lucifer have proportionally larger eyes than the Etmopterus spinax. And this one, Etmopterus spinax, is in some of the videos that we saw earlier. And you can see these like really great views of the eyes right here. So haunting, gorgeous, just really, really cool. Speaking of haunting, great shot of the viper dogfish right here. So we did cover this species, I think, 2024. The first year of the stream, I'm pretty sure we covered this species. But this shark is so cool and unusual, having the projectile jaws. So this, and it's actually really amazing that there's a shark that almost looks like a viper fish. And you can see how the jaws fold right up into the chondrocranium right here. So it's such a radical looking shark. Think goblin shark, except a lantern shark. So huge eyes, incredible visual right here. Just the deep sea has a lot of amazing species. So figure C is Etmopterus spinax. So this is I forget the common name for Etmopterus spinax, but this is one of the more well-known lantern sharks, and it's actually really amazing to see how drastically these two species evolved. They're very speaking of haunting, image beyond human evolutionary comprehension. These are both in the lantern shark family, which is kind of wild, but Trigonognathus is completely different. As far as like the incredible jaws, and they're probably really good fish grabbing or squid grabbing jaws. So really, truly unbelievable. So I think we'll zoom forward to. There's actually a lot of references of the Splendid Lanternshark. So I won't go through like the nitty gritty since I know we're almost out of time. But let's see. Pelagic species have rather long homogeneous retina. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of skim through this. Squaleos alii and Etmopterus splendidus, which both possess small fusiform bodies, clearly have a pelagic habitat, whereas Etmopterus spinax, Lucifer, and the viper dogfish are larger benthopelagic sharks. So the Splendid Lantern shark likes to be more in the water column, which is kind of interesting. Okay. Yeah, so I think we'll keep moving on, but really, really great visuals on the different lantern shark species. So, and I'll put in the name of the paper because this one's also, I think, a winner. So, photon hunting, Twilight Zone. All right. This one I think is new. Or no, it's not new. Sorry, I think this one we are familiar with, but I believe this one had actually a really cool chart of the shark. So this might be our last paper. We'll see how long it takes. But Molecular Phylogeny of Squaliforms and First Occurrence of Bioluminescence in Sharks by Nicholas Straub, Cheng-Hong Lee, Julian M. Kleis, so similar team, Shannon Corrigan, and Gavin J.P. Naylor. So Squaliform sharks represent approximately 27% of extant shark diversity, comprising more than 130 species with a predominantly deep-dwelling lifestyle. Many squaliform species are highly specialized, including some that are bioluminescent, a character that is reported exclusively from squaliform sharks within Chondrichthyes. The interfamiliar relationships within the order are still not satisfactorily resolved. Herein we estimate the phylogenetic interrelationships of a generic level sampling of squaloid sharks and closely related taxa using aligned sequences derived from a targeted gene capture approach. The resulting phylogenetic estimate is further used to evaluate the age of first occurrence of bioluminescence in squaliforms. Our dataset comprised 172 putative ortholog exon sequences. Phylogenetic estimates result in a fully resolved tree supporting a monophyletic lineage of squaliforms excluding Echinorhinus. Non-luminous Squalidae are inferred to be the sister to a clade comprising all remaining squaliform families. Our results suggest that the origin of photophores is coincident with an elevated diversification rate and the splitting of families Delatiidae, Etmopteridae, Oxynotidae, and Somniosidae at the transition of the lower to the upper Cretaceous. So the kitefin sharks, the lantern sharks, the rough sharks, and the sleeper sharks split from each other in the Cretaceous period. The presence of luminous organs was confirmed from the sleeper shark genus Zamius. These results indicate that bioluminescence in sharks is not restricted solely to the families Etmopteridae and Delatiidae as previously believed. The sister clade to the non-luminous Squalidae comprises 5 families. The presence of photophores is reported for extant members of 3 out of these 5 families based on results of the study. That is, lantern sharks, kitefin sharks, and sleeper sharks. The results suggest that the origin of luminous organs arose during the rapid diversification event that gave rise to extant squaliform families. These inferences are consistent with the idea of diversification of squaliform sharks being associated with the emergence of new deep-sea habitats in the lower Cretaceous, which may have been facilitated by the evolution of bioluminescence. So, in the Cretaceous period, we have new deep-water habitat, and the ability to access that habitat allowed for this group of squaliform sharks to branch off into their different families and allowed for bioluminescence to evolve. That's extremely cool. And here is the tree. So this is actually really cool. As an offshoot, you've got the bramble shark. And then, oh wow, yeah, bramble shark, an angel shark, the clouded angel shark, that one we covered a couple weeks ago, a couple saw sharks. And then sister to that are the Squalidae, so the dogfish. This in-group that includes the gulper sharks, Centrophoridae. Delatiidae, the kitefin sharks, which include cookie cutter sharks. Somniosis, the sleeper sharks, the rough sharks, which involved within Somniosis, and finally lantern sharks, which are this group in the red. And then you can see that our lantern shark is a sister taxon of Etmopterus shakoi, Etmopterus muller. There's a lot of lantern sharks. This is probably not all-inclusive, but it's kind of cool to see the relationship evolutionarily of lantern sharks of the genus Etmopterus versus like the viper dogfish. I'm not sure what Aculeola is in Centroskillium, which is the black dogfish. So very cool evolutionary tree. Oh wow, okay. So we've never really seen this before. So this is like a timeline of how everything kind of evolved. So in the Triassic to the Lower Jurassic period, you've got the squalomorphy. So remember the two major groups of sharks are squalomorphs and galeomorphs. And galeomorphs are kind of like the modernish sharks. So those are like the great whites and the sandbar sharks, hammerheads. These and the whale sharks. The squalomorphs are ancient sharks. So it's kind of cool to see they evolved. But I think they both evolved kind of around the same era. But squalomorphy evolved in the Middle Triassic, Jurassic. squaliforms, the order squaliforms, split from all the other squalomorphs in the Upper Triassic and Upper Jurassic period. In the Jurassic period, you have angel sharks, saw sharks, and bramble sharks. In the Cretaceous period, you had the radiation of squaliforms, so you have squaliforms evolving into gulper sharks, kitefin sharks, lantern sharks, sleeper sharks, rough sharks. And then the lantern sharks also evolved, their whole family evolved in the Upper Cretaceous. And I'm just going to kind of skip ahead. The lantern sharks diversified in the Upper Cretaceous. And then Etmopterus as a genus, radiated, so sorry about the audio, by the way. Etmopterus as a genus radiated in the Upper Cretaceous to the Paleocene. So really cool chart. I'll promise to put the name of this here. But here we go is the timeline of how all these sharks evolved, along with bioluminescence. So the blue is bioluminescence, the red is not. So you can see that bioluminescence kind of evolved in the Lower Cretaceous period. And then for the lantern sharks, all of them are bioluminescent, and that evolved in the Upper Cretaceous period. And that our species, Etmopterus splendidus, probably evolved in the about 50 million years ago is kind of the, and it's probably not as precise as that, but still, really, really cool tree, a really cool phylogenetic tree where you can see the timeline of how all these species radiated. It's really amazing, actually. And again, the light blue dots talk about bioluminescence. So you can see that bioluminescence evolved in the Lower Cretaceous. It was passed on to the lantern sharks. It kind of shut off with the sleeper sharks, but then, was passed on to the kitefin sharks. So it's amazing, really. All right. And I'm just going to see if I can find any notes on our shark specifically, and I think not. So I think this is just about the general study itself, or the general family itself. So with that, I'm going to leave the name of this paper in the chat so people can read it. It's really cool. Okay. And I think since it's almost 11, I think that might be it for tonight. So, but let me go back to shallow water lantern sharks as an outro. Oh, I forgot that I was zooming in. Oh yeah, reason number 2000 to study shark evolution and phylogeny. So, and I'm gonna slow this down for everybody, because I usually like to take my time with outros, so. But there we go. Alright guys, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, us as in like our community. This was a particularly fun stream. We had all of our favorites back. Not that anyone not on tonight was not a favorite, because we love everybody, but it was really fun to chat with you guys and have such a great back and forth in the chat. I really, really appreciated all the dialogue and all the questions, and this was a particularly lively stream tonight, which is super cool because, frankly, when I definitely was having, like, not a bad Monday or anything, but just I definitely was, like, very, like, sleepy this Monday, so you guys definitely woke me up in a great way with stimulating shark conversation, and I am so glad that we were able to learn more about lantern sharks, particularly the splendid lantern shark, and learn that it is the most complex bioluminescent pattern in the shark world. That's really, really cool to see that. And I'm really excited that we learned more about bioluminescent shark evolution and just bioluminescence in general. It's such a unique feature of this group of sharks, and I think this is probably one of the best streams we've had, to be honest. So this was a really, really fun one with the splendid lantern shark. So thank you guys so much for watching. Love having you here. Love spending this time with you. And I hope you all have a really great week. And tune in next week for the Caribbean reef sharks. So we're going to go back up into the shallows to meet a you know, I don't know what makes this shark unique, but I'm excited to find out. So to meet a very, very sharky shark, the sharkiest of sharks, I'm so excited for that. So, but thank you guys. Love you all. Hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week for the Caribbean reef shark. Cheers. Bye.